If I have any hope of finding Lucky, I gotta cut some corners. No. I'm sure you do. Thank you for the offer. At any other time, I would jump at the chance. But I am hoping to.
With dazzling lights gracing every shopfront and the mild aroma of pine wafting through the streets, the atmosphere in Port Charles was filled with a distinct sense of celebration with the holiday season. For Anna Devane, however, the holiday season had always been a bit of a roller coaster ride. At this time of year, she felt as though memories of her family, love, and grief were coming to life, and they were pulling at her emotions. On the other hand, it appeared that this year would be an especially difficult one. Anna was not exactly in the mood for the holiday season, due to the previous challenges she had to face and the unpredictability that existed in her relationships. All of that changed when a mystery surprise set the stage for Christmas Eve that will be filled with amazing moments. An attempt to break up a calm morning. Anna was sitting at her desk in the Metro Court, where she had been avoiding for several days, and she was in the process of sorting through a daunting mound of documents. While she was engrossed in the minute details of old WSB files, she was so preoccupied that she hardly noticed that her coffee had become cold. The answers to her questions remained elusive, despite the fact that her intuition gave her the impression that the pages contained something significant. Still doing your job? Felicia Scorpio teased Anna by saying, "It's Christmas Eve, Anna," as she entered the suite with a tray of freshly brewed coffee and pastries. With a little grin on her face, Anna looked up. "I'm able to pose the same question to you. Wouldn't it be more appropriate for you to be with Mac, putting the finishing touches on the holiday feast that you have planned?" With a shrug, Felicia placed the tray down on the table. "Mac is taking care of it. In addition, I felt you could benefit from having some company. Perhaps a gentle nudge to remind you to take a break." An individual knocked on the door before Anna had the opportunity to react. The two women exchanged a curious glance with one another. Anna did not anticipate anyone seeing her. "Were you being followed?" Anna inquired with a sarcastic tone of mistrust, which elicited a chuckle from Felicia. As Felicia stood up to answer the door, she responded, "It's probably just room service getting here." On the other hand, when the door was opened, there was no waiter standing there. It turned out to be a messenger who was carrying a large mail and a tiny gift box that was intricately wrapped. It was declared by the courier that the items were for Anna Devane, and then he disappeared down the corridor after handing them over. Anna was given the package by Felicia, who then closed the door behind her. Wow, this has just taken an interesting turn. The unknown and unknown envelope. As Anna examined the letter, her brow furrowed in recognition of the handwriting that was located on the front of the envelope. A former co-worker from her time at the WSB, someone she hadn't communicated with in many years, was the one who sent her the message. "Should I go ahead and get the popcorn first, or are you going to open it at this point?" Clearly fascinated, Felicia baited the audience. Although Anna rolled her eyes, she opened the envelope with great discretion. On the inside was a snapshot of a snow-covered chalet that was hidden away in the Swiss Alps, as well as a message that had been scribbled. Anna's attitude changed from one of uncertainty to one of disbelief as she read the letter as she read it. "Who or what is it?" Felicia exerted pressure. The tone of Anna's voice was filled with awe as she carefully explained. "It's an invitation, in honor of a holiday get-together of sorts. A few of us from the World Socialist Party, at least those of us who are still alive, are getting together in Switzerland. It would appear that this is a custom that has been around for many years, but I have never been a part of it until today." Eyes that glittered were Felicia's. What a fascinating and enigmatic mystery. Would you like to travel with me? After a moment of hesitation, Anna's fingertips lightly touched the photograph. I'm not sure, she said. Being welcomed out of the blue is a peculiar feeling to experience. It has been a very long time since I have seen any of them, however. Perhaps it is time to get back in touch. Anna diverted her attention to the small gift box that had been included with the letter before Felicia could react to her. Taking great care, she slowly removed the wrapping, revealing a fragile glass ornament in the shape of a snowflake. Once a spy, always a spy was the slogan that was etched on it, along with her initials. To get a better look at the decoration, Felicia moved closer to it. On the other hand, if that isn't a sign, I don't know what else might be. Reflection on a trip through time. When Anna woke up the following morning, she found herself aboard a private plane that was headed to Switzerland. It was impossible for her to ignore the tug of nostalgia and the promise of closure, despite the fact that she had initially expressed some doubts. The chalet, which was situated in a rural village and surrounded by towering snow-capped hills, was every bit as spectacular as the photograph had said it would be. Anna was received by a small group of people who were already familiar to her when she arrived. The relationship that they shared was indisputable, despite the fact that some of them had become weathered by time, with their hair grayer and their smiles more kind. The air was filled with tales of previous flights and near misses, and for the first time in years, Anna experienced a sense of belonging that she had not realized she had been lacking despite experiencing it for years. In particular, there was an interaction that stood out. Robert Scorpio made an unexpected appearance. In spite of the fact that Anna had not anticipated his attendance at the gathering, the warmth that he brought to the occasion caused her heart to hurt in the most positive way possible. I didn't think I'd be able to not notice this, did you? While he was handing her a glass of mulled wine, Robert announced with a smirk on his face. Anna gave a sly grin. It was unclear to me. You have been known to maintain a low profile as of late. There was a change in Robert's expression. It was time for me to remind you, Anna, that you are not the only one going through this. In no way have you ever been. An unexpected holiday gift. As Christmas Eve approached, the party gathered in the warm and inviting living room of the chalet, where there was a crackling fire. Laughter reverberated around the room as they traded tales, presents, and playful jabs with one another. However, as the night progressed, Anna was unable to shake the inexplicable feeling that something more was about to take place. Anna's intuition was validated when one of the more experienced agents, a man named Victor, who had been a mentor to her in the beginning of her career, took the initiative to speak in front of the group. Victor made the announcement, "There is one more surprise tonight," while maintaining a steady tone of voice despite the evident emotion in his eyes. "I am addressing this to you, Anna." A tiny wooden box was presented to her by Victor. Upon opening it, Anna discovered a collection of letters that had been meticulously maintained. As soon as she saw the handwriting, she immediately identified it as belonging to her late sister, Alexandra. It was years ago when these were discovered in a secure location, as Victor stated. We had believed that they had been misplaced, but they were just recently found again. In the course of her final mission, she penned these specifically for you, Anna. The moment Anna brushed her fingertips over the letters, she found herself unable to breathe. It was when she mumbled, "Thank you," that tears began to build up in her eyes. Anna spent the remainder of the evening sitting by the fire and reading the words that Alexandra had written. Each and every letter was a priceless treasure, brimming with affection, humor, and recollections of their common history. There was no amount of money that could buy the kind of present that she received. It was a connection to someone she had loved and lost, and it was a reminder of the power that comes from family. An eventful Christmas to recall. On the moment that the clock struck midnight, Anna stepped out onto the snow-covered balcony of the lodge. There was a deep, inky black sky that was speckled with stars that appeared to be brighter than they actually were. She was holding the snowflake ornament in her hand, and the moonlight played off of the glass of the ornament. In the chilly night air, Robert joined her, his breath clearly visible in the air. "Are you feeling okay?" With a slight smile flickering across her lips, Anna gave a slight nod. "It's better than fine. For the first time in a very long time, I am able to experience serenity." After slipping his arm around her shoulders, Robert continued, "The phrase Merry Christmas, Anna." As she immersed herself in his embrace, the burden of the past was suddenly lifted. "Have a wonderful Christmas, Robert." And for the first time in years, Anna gave herself permission to simply be thankful, hopeful, and prepared for whatever was to come after this. As the frigid winter air enveloped Port Charles like a warm embrace, it served as a clear indication that the holiday season had arrived. As the mayor of the town and the emotional anchor of the community, Laura Collins, this time of year was always a bittersweet experience for her. It was a time to celebrate family, to think about the victories and defeats that had occurred in the past, and to figure out how to deal with the constant upheaval that is life in Port Charles. On the other hand, this year brought with it a sense of thankfulness and clarity that was unlike any other. An unruffled morning. It was a peaceful start to the day for Laura. During the time that she was sitting in her living room, the gentle glow of Christmas lights created a cozy atmosphere around the area. She took a mouthful of her coffee, the aroma of which mingled with the scent of the evergreen tree that was boldly standing in the corner of the room. Her eyes lingered on the ornaments that were attached to the tree by her family, each of which had a tail attached to it. Little Lulu's snowman, which she had constructed when she was in kindergarten, was there, its paint chipped but its charm unharmed. In close proximity, there was a fragile glass angel that was a gift from Lucky during a year that was extremely challenging. A straightforward wooden star, a memento from her youth, was tucked up in the uppermost part of the structure. As Laura touched the rim of her mug with her finger, she couldn't help but smile sweetly. Life had dealt her a series of unexpected challenges that she had not anticipated. But here she was, standing tall, surrounded by memories of love and perseverance, and standing tall. Kevin's visit to the house. The room was filled with the presence of her husband, Kevin Collins, who came in with his own cup of coffee and a look of contentment. While he was sitting next to her on the couch, he made the observation, "You're up early." Laura moved closer to him and rested her head on his shoulder as she did so. "I was just reflecting on how much there has been for us to go through in this past year. It is a pleasant experience to pause for a moment, take a deep breath, and acknowledge the present moment." Kevin gave her a slight nod while wrapping his arm around her shoulders. "Laura, you have been the glue that has successfully held everything together. Taking into account everything that is going on with Cyrus, Nicholas, and Spencer, not to mention trying to rule the town. You are deserving of some time just to think." Laura let out a little chuckle. It is much simpler to engage in introspection when one is not in the midst of a crisis. Indeed, you are correct. It is a pleasure to simply be. Recollections of those beloved. Subsequently, Laura discovered that she was at the family photo wall later that morning. With her fingertips lightly brushing over the frames, her heart began to fill with a variety of feelings. In the early days of their relationship, when they believed they could overcome any challenge, there was a photograph of her accompanying Luke, When she thought of him, her smile was momentarily hesitant for a brief moment. It is impossible to deny the influence that their trip together had, despite the fact that their paths had split. Her eyes moved to a photograph of her children, Lucky, Lulu, and Nicholas, all of whom were smiling for the camera at a Christmas that had been a very long time ago. Although Laura's heart was heavy with the weight of Lulu's absence, she reminded herself that their love remained undiminished, even when they were separated by the greatest of obstacles. And then there was Spencer, her grandson, whose journey had been anything but easy during the entire process. The young man he was developing into was a source of enormous pride for her, despite the challenges he was facing. "I hope I've done right by all of you," Laura muttered, her voice filled with emotion as she expressed her aspiration. An extraordinary delivery. When she was in the middle of her calm reflection, she heard a knock at the door. As Laura opened it, she discovered Alexis Davis standing there with a platter of cookies and a grin that suggested she was embarrassed. "I know you probably already have a mountain of baked goods," Alexis stated as she entered the house. However, Molly insisted that we bring these over. When Laura took the dish, she giggled as she did so. "It's just in the nick of time. I had just about finished my first glass of cider." As the aroma of cinnamon and apples continued to permeate the air, the two women made themselves comfortable in the kitchen and began to tell stories and laugh together. Within a short period of time, Alexis brought up a subject that was more serious. "The question is, how are you really doing?" Alexis inquired on a soft and gentle tone. Before responding, Laura lingered for a moment. "Despite the fact that it has been a lot, I believe that I am finally getting back on my feet. My experience this year has taught me to value even the smallest of achievements. It would be nice to have Spencer around for the holidays. And the knowledge that Lulu is being cared for, even though she is not physically present with us." With a reassuring touch, Alexis extended her hand to Laura and placed it on her arm. "To put it simply, Laura, you are one of the most powerful people I know. You are the only person who might be able to deal with everything that life throws at them. A reunion that takes everyone by surprise." As the afternoon progressed, Laura was presented with a surprise that she had not anticipated. Spencer showed there on time, bringing with him not just his customary charm, but also a special guest, her son Lucky. He arrived earlier than was originally scheduled. Lucky called out to her mother and drew her into a comfortable embrace. "It would be impossible for me to have another Christmas without being able to see you." While she was holding him, Laura's eyes began to well up with tears. "The significance of this to me is beyond your comprehension." From the entranceway, Spencer flashed a grin. "I came up with the concept, Grandma. To put it simply." While she was laughing, Laura ruffled his hair. "You never fail to surprise me, don't you?" says the speaker. During the day, the family spent time catching up with one another, sharing memories, and creating new ones. The strong link that Spencer and Lucky shared, despite the passage of time and the physical distance that had separated them, caused Laura's heart to be filled with joy as she watched them interact. Gratitude gathered in the evening. The Collins home was full with warmth and laughter as the day transitioned into twilight by the time the day was over. An abundance of friends and family members gathered around the table to enjoy the feast that Kevin had cooked. In addition to Felicia and Mac, who brought their own festive cheer with them, Alexis stayed to join them throughout the holiday season. Just prior to the beginning of the lunch, Laura stood up to share a few words. She started off by saying, "I know I'm not the only one who's had a difficult year," while maintaining a steady but passionate tone in her voice. "However, when I look around this table tonight, I am reminded of how fortunate I am. Despite the difficulties, heartache, and uncertainty that we have encountered, we have managed to triumph over them together. And for that, I am indebted to you in an infinite way. As her words were welcomed with smiles and nods from those around her, Laura experienced a great sense of serenity. As everyone raised their glasses for a toast, she felt the same way. Counting the blessings she owns, Laura and Kevin sat by the fire later that evening. After everyone had left the house and the atmosphere had returned to its normal state of tranquility. During the time that she was holding his hand, her thoughts wandered to the happenings of the day. Her voice was quiet as she spoke. I believe that this is one of the best Christmases that we have ever had. Kevin gave her a kiss on the temple. Because you made the effort to look for the positive aspects in every situation. Laura, that is the gift you have. People are brought together by you, and you remind us all of the things that are significant. During the time that the fire was crackling and snow was beginning to fall outside, Laura closed her eyes and allowed the warmth of the moment to wash over her. Her family, her friends, her love, and the resiliency that had carried her through every twist and turn were in the forefront of her thoughts as she counted her blessings in that serene and tranquil space. And for the first time in a very long time, she experienced a genuine sense of contentment.